All right, so here we are at the Duette Schoolhouse. We are about 35, 40 miles east of Bradenton. So this is an old schoolhouse that was built a long time ago, and we're going to go inside and see what it's like inside.
Hey farmers, Farmer Mike here, and he has Farmer Julie.
Hey, Farmer Mike and Farmer Julie.
Hey, Miss
Welcome to Duette Elementary School, the last one-teacher school left in the state of Florida up until June of 2016. So welcome, and we'll have a good day, I think.
Well, thank you.
2, 1.
Guys, we are so excited today to be here with Miss Betty King, and she is definitely a person that has lived. How long have you lived here?
All my life. Not yet, almost.
But did you go to school here?
My parents went to school here. My parents went to school here. I went to school here. My kids went to school here.
Wow.
We've been here a long time.
You have been here a
Our
long
family's been here, I forgot, since 1882.
1882. That's a few years.
Sure.
And we want to talk to you because you also have a 100-year pioneer farm.
Yes.
So we want to talk to you about that, but we'll make that a separate, a little chat. So the school started in 1930, is that correct?
Well, in the late 1920s, there was 3 elementary schools there. Albrighton School was straight up across from the school, up the road about 3 miles. Bunker Hill School was about 5 miles back down the road. And the Bunker Hill School house now stands in the historical village east.
Right, and maybe we'll have a chance to see that one too, farmers.
And then there was one in this area. And so the overseers of the schools got together and decided we need just one community school. And so they decided the best place, more central, is here. And so then they decided on the acreage. Rude Crate Mill was approached because they were cutting all the timbers in this area. This was like a newfound area, and they were cutting all the timbers. And so Rude Crate Mill donated the land and donated the timbers to make this building. They cut them, sent them to Tampa, had them viewed like they wanted them, and brought back on the train.
Wow.
This building was built by volunteers. It only had an architect to help to work with them on it. It was hard trying to find a building that would be, copacetic for this area. And so this building is built in the same design as the black schools of the South. It was designed by an architect at Tuskegee University, which was an all-black college at that time.
Right, huh?
So it was built by all volunteers. The first day they had 83 students by combining the 3 schools together. So that tells you there wasn't very many kids in either school.
Right.
And it wasn't feasible to keep them open, financially feasible
Right.
to keep them open. So, but they opened up with 2 classrooms full of kids. This when the school was started, there was no electricity in Duette, not just in school, but in Duette period. Electricity was put into the building in 1947, so that's 17 years with no power. There was no indoor bathrooms, so the kids had to go to the little building outside.
At the outhouse.
There was no cafeteria for you to go get your pizza and hamburgers in. You brought your own lunch. What you had for supper last night, you can bet is what you were eating for lunch today. There was no running water because there was no electricity. And so if you needed to wash your hands, somebody had to go to the pump, and they had to pump while you washed your hands, and then they in reverse did it. And that's how they used the area.
I still have one of the pumps in my backyard. Once or twice a week I just go by, pump it a few
To
times.
see if it works.
Yeah.
If you pump the handle up and down, the water pours out the pitcher. But when you turn it loose, there's a valve that stops the water from continuously running. And that's how a pitcher pump works.
Yep. Things were a lot different, farmers, in the days that preceded our current period anyway. So you think what it would be like to have been a student in a one-room school in Florida.
One.
In later years, when a kitchen was established, after running water, electricity, and this type of stuff was established, they would check with the farmers, check with the families, and see if they could furnish something up. Lunch was 25 cents a week. But if your family could furnish something for the meals, your kids got to eat for free.
Wow.
So that helped out the community and it helped out the school. And this school has always been highly supported by agriculture.
Like the precursor to free and reduced lunches.
Precursor to free and reduced lunches.
Yep.
Because if your family could support it, then you could get yours for free.
Right. Excellent.
And also the teachers had to bring wood because each room had a wooden heater in it. And if the teacher didn't bring wood, you were mighty cold that day. So the teachers had to bring enough wood to burn for how many hours you were going to be in school. When I started in this school in '51, it was still a strawberry school. Strawberry meaning during strawberry season, it was closed because the kids needed to go pick strawberries.
When is that, Miss Betty? When is strawberry season?
December to March. And so from December to March, the kids was out of school to pick strawberries, right in the coldest part of the year, to pick the strawberries. And then during the rest of that time, they went to school. Another little quick tidbit, my dad went to school at this school, but only for 1 year, because my dad was super smart. Wished I was, but my dad was super smart. The school superintendent came out here and set him down and gave him a test. There was nothing that he could ask him that he could answer. So he told him, he's the age of 15, and he told him, go home. Your daddy needs you on the farm, you don't need anything in these books. So they wouldn't do that nowadays.
No. No, they wouldn't. Excellent. So, are we going to take a look around then?
Yes.
All right, let's do that. 3, 2, 1, go.
Of school. And this is the original seats. It was put in the auditorium in 1930.
1930. Wow.
1930. These are theater seats. They came out of a theater in downtown Bradenton. They
Wow.
were donated to the school.
It's
Miss
amazing.
Betty said this hardwood floor is the original floor?
The hardwood floor is the original floor. All the walls are the original walls. It's tongue and groove, the way the materials is cut. But this is still shining after all these years.
And these hard pine boards are impervious to termites. They just give up and raise the white flag.
Yeah.
They-
Yeah, and you can't put a screw in, you can't put a nail in
No.
this.
Which is a good thing in Florida, right? In
Yes.
terms of the termites,
Yes.
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 Barbara, would you tell us a little bit about some of the things that are hanging on the wall here? I have seen a few of them over my days, but there's some that look pretty alien to me.
But some of these tools were actually used by different farmers in Duette at a given time, and some of them might have even been used to build the schoolhouse when it was built during when it was being built. Along with some brands, we have a yoke that came off a horse that would be used for pulling, which would be probably used for pulling the timber into place as they were building the school. You have those sheep shears above it, a washboard, which is the way everybody back then washed their clothes. You have brands, which were used on the different cattle ranches to identify whose cows were whose. Then you have your different auger bits, wood shavers, a saw. All of these tools were used and were needed to be passed down to the next generation of farmers in our community, but also to build a school and to keep our traditions alive out here in Duette.
On the right, we have the actual clothes. It was worn by the kids in Duette school because they did the Nutcracker each year. The Nutcrackers performed at Christmas time. And the auditorium was always overflowing at Christmas time. Had a large Christmas tree, had candy bags for all the kids that had oranges and nuts and candy. Donated by the community.
So it seats 150, Miss Betty?
Sir?
It seats 150, did I hear?
It did.
It
at
did.
that time. They took out some back here.
Okay.
If you look on the floor, you can see the marks.
Oh, yeah.
They took out
Mhm.
some later on.
So the community would gather here for
Yes.
the play, for other kinds of meetings and stuff?
For community meetings, any program that went on. There was nothing to do in Duette, so if there was a program at the school time, yes, something to do. so everybody went.
Saturday night, let's go over to the Duette Schoolhouse.
Let's go over and see what the kids are doing.
Great.
Highly supported.
I have a friend who came from a rural community in Illinois, but he said, if you weren't into what was going on at school or church, you didn't have
You
anything
didn't have
to do.
anything to do. Yeah, yeah.
So,
Nothing to
that's
do.
pretty neat.
This is a barn loom that was donated to us from a lady in Sun City.
I thought Diane was calling me that at one time, but it turned out she was saying barn loom.
Loom. And behind you is a weaving wheel that was donated to us.
Oh yeah, look.
Yeah, you go ahead and pull the handle so they can see what happens. Pull the
Pull the
handle.
handle?
Pull the handle. And it should rock. And it should roll. Okay, so it's not going to.
Oh,
This is the classroom for the first grade through fourth grade. Duette School went up to 8th grades, and you actually graduated from the 8th grade, and there was an actual graduation program. But first through fourth grade is in here, and there was still a permanent wall here, where we now have 2 displays to break the 2 rooms apart. But this is where the first through fourth grade settled in for the day.
Who were some of the first teachers over here?
Oprah Rawls, Hazel Schumann, Herb Schumann, in fact. With Hugh, Mrs. McGuire. Mrs. McGuire taught here. The first school buses in this county were from Duette. Owen Keene and Sam Rawls drove the buses. They converted their vehicles into buses. And Sam picked up the ones from over the Duette area that way. Owen picked up here, and then would run up the Carlton Road.
so, Miss Betty, I'm seeing, I think, a couple of different kinds of desks. Here's one over here.
We have some more in the other room.
Okay, but this one looks like where 2 people could sit. Is that right?
Right.
Okay, so they would have to keep their hands to themselves. Farmers, 3, 2, 1. What about those maps, Farmer Mike?
This is amazing. I mean, this was the way that you taught geography in those days. You didn't run it through your computer or project it onto a smart board. This was it. You just pulled it down, and there was usually a world map and a map of the United States. And they often were mounted one above each other so that you could pull it down over the other map. So, pretty neat. I remember all of these things, farmers.
Hey, Miss Betty, what's all of this stuff over here?
This was a science wall. Lots of things were put up there for the kids to see, and they were rotated in and out. Those snake skins all were found here on the ground.
Okay, so yeah, kids were actually doing some hands-on type of science experiments. I
Right.
see here's a
And you see all the bugs in the little containers.
microscope, yes.
Little clear containers all have bugs in them.
All right, and see the butterflies. So something that Farmer Mike was talking about earlier when we were looking at the maps is how differently subjects were taught when kids were coming to this Duette Elementary School back in the day.
Everything basically was hands-on because there was no e-learning.
One of the things Duette was famous for too was the very large chicken eggs.
Very large chicken eggs.
Really? Those are chicken eggs?
No,
I like to see the chicken that, lay down.
that's actually an ostrich
Ostrich
egg.
egg.
Ostrich eggs. Okay, great. So good science stuff. Excellent.
Here's something that you don't see much anymore, farmers. This is cursive writing.
What do you mean cursive writing,
It's-
Farmer
it's
Mike?
a series of codes we used to use during the old days. However, people will say, gosh, Farmer Mike, you have pretty good handwriting. Well, it's because I spent over 8 years making loops and word cues and all of these things.
Kept getting held
Yeah.
back, right,
And
Farmer
so,
Mike?
yeah, it was great. Yeah, and the other thing, I had one report card that, and here we can see all the cursive alphabet. But I had one teacher that said, Michael will be a scholar if he ever learns to read.
So, Miss Betty, I'm seeing this picture here, and the caption or the information up here says 1948. Where was that taken? Just right out front here, or?
No, that's taken in Bradenton.
Okay,
Down
yeah.
by where Snooty lived.
Ah,
Down by the pier.
I see. Right. That's
This is the end
And so when I look at this, I mean, it makes me think, well, when did the school close then? If
2016.
so there were kids coming to this school from
That's right.
1930 clear up to 2016.
Yes, sir.
It was a functional elementary
Functional
school.
elementary school. And if you look at the picture on the right-hand side, that's a radio tower for WBRD, which is no longer in existence.
I see it there.
That's the old radio tower. But the two ladies on the ends were teachers and bus drivers.
You did double duty back in
Four
those days,
maids, fire, and
farmers.
overalls.
Yep. Yep. All right, so Miss Betty, I've stumbled on to this room here in the school. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
This is the cafeteria. Not very big, huh?
The cafeteria.
When it was built, this would always be a classroom. But then when they were able to provide a kitchen, they had to fix it as a functional kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, whenever I was in school here, I came here in 1951. Before you could go out to play, at play period, we call it play period.
Mm-hmm. We call it recess or
You
whatever.
had to come through the line and drink your orange juice because they had just put vitamins in it. The health department provided vitamins, and you had to come through and drink your juice to get your vitamins in the day.
Really? So you call this a cafeteria? Was the food cooked and people eat and the students ate in here as well?
Yeah, this is really a kitchen. It really is.
But at one time, I guess there were a lot of,
There were,
there were.
on the wall you'll see they built homemade benches, picnic tables. The counter here was not there, it was just not there.
Right there.
But they built picnic tables out of rough cut pine. And the kids sit at the rough cut pine.
There they are. Yeah. Yeah. Look at those little guys. It was probably kind of hot or maybe a little cold because there was no electricity.
These two display cases, we got donated from the Ringling Museum of Art. They donated 5 cases to us. And Miss Diane from the Ag Museum came out and helped set up displays, which she's very good at.
Is that Mrs. Farmer Mike?
That's Mrs. Farmer Mike.
Mrs. Farmer Mike, you're seeing her handiwork right here.
Mrs. Farmer Mike. When we got to school, you don't have to record this.
All right, Miss Betty, we're in yet another room here at the Duette Elementary School. Can you tell us a little about it?
This room originally was used as the clinic. If you got sick, you had to have somewhere to go because there was no phones to call mom and daddy to come get you. So there was cots placed in this room originally. And if you got sick, you went to the clinic. You stayed at the clinic all day. But you better be sick when you got home. Your parents would take care of you.
Ah,
It's like,
yes.
right away.
You
It
bet.
now is a museum room. We have a lot of memorabilia from the actual school in here. And we have 4 different sizes of desks for
Yeah.
different sizes of kids. And we are working on another project, so we have a little mess in here, but that's okay because life isn't always shiny and roses.
No, it is not.
And we're happy with it.
Yes, it's so beautiful, Miss Betty. Just the whole space.
Over on the wall,
Over here.
over on the wall, you can see pictures of different things. The picture, the 2 in the middle are 4-H kids because 4-H was in the school system from 1923 until 1963. It was in the school system as part of the curriculum. And so that's the kids growing their vegetables so that they can can them.
Mm-hmm.
And then to your right from where you are now shows the school buses. That's St. Paul's and O&P with the original school buses.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So farmers, the important thing here to take away is that we're kind of standing on the shoulders of all of these wonderful people who came before us and began to set up a community.
Right, right.
Miss Betty and her family and her ancestors, they worked hard to establish this elementary school and just get a community going. And we need to keep that in mind, because if we don't keep an eye on our history, we're going to make mistakes in the future. So.
And if you look outside, the swing set that's out there, you won't see it from here, you have to look to the south,
Okay.
is the same swing set that I swing on my right side.
Unbelievable.
And I would tell you
history.
the teeter-totters are the same, except 3 or 4 years ago, we had a hurricane came through with wind strong enough that bent those 3-inch poles on the teeter-totter. But that's okay, because the DCA went and bought wood pipe, and 4-H kids painted them. And Bob Moody recut us some seats, and everything is fine. We have our teeter-totter back. Same one in the ground.
So farmers, that's a community that Miss Betty is talking about, and that's the power of what a community can do.
What a community can do. If you pull together, you can accomplish anything. Fighting one another doesn't count.
Doesn't matter.
Pulling together is where we got to do.
Okay, farmers, we want to thank Farmer Julie, and we want to thank Miss Betty for showing us around today. And that
Absolutely.
wraps it up here. So, so long for now, farmers.
Bye, farmers.
Happy trails.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Miss Betty. Thank you, Farmer Julie and Farmer Mike. This was great.